in a country like Antigua, where we have very little natural resources, we can rely on our most available, which is sun, solar, but solar tends to be very inconsistent. No one has been able to create a steady influx of solar power. So we will have some solar, but we need something else. If the sargassum and the transition that you're making with it towards a clean, viable energy solution works, we are prepared to take it on. So we will be the first client. It's being built in the port, so we will take it and put it into first our small machines. So we'll test that. If it works in our small machines, we'll move it to our generators. And if it powers our generators, then it's powering the port, and we can reclassify the port as a green port because we would have clean green energy going into the port.
That is a very wise, good next step to handle volume and growth as well. I think that's a good.
Once we get into the generators, the next step would be to see how we run the big equipment. So you see the crane there, then we have the tugs, then we have the padded boat, and we have all the big stackers and big machines that require a massive amount of energy to run.
Mm-hmm.
Once those can go on, and we can get the supply and it's consistent enough, then we can add something to it. If that works, then we start speaking to the cargo ships and the cruise ships to see how we can slowly integrate our biofuels into their systems. Why is that a very interesting proposition? January 1st, 2025, all of Europe, including the geese boat that comes here, will only be allowed to use biofuels in Europe. No shipping line in Europe can use any fossil fuel as of January 2025. As a matter of fact, the geese vessel that was here yesterday came here with biofuels, and if it needed biofuels anywhere in the Caribbean, it couldn't get it because it doesn't exist. So if we can provide your B100 here, which would have to be verifiably in line with the requirements and formulations that they need. If all of that meets it, then geese could leave Europe, come here, and bunker here on its way to wherever it's going and back.
And if that happens, that means that we are then energy independent.
If that happens, we become a very attractive port. So we add to the competitiveness that we want to create with our port, meaning that we're not just able to transition our physical plant, we can now supply the marine side. Now what's up with the marine side? If we got 5 cruise ships there in a day, that requires upwards of 75 to 80 megawatts. Antigua only does 60 megawatts a day, or pulls 60 megawatts for the entire island in a day. So the cruise ships alone by themselves outpaces what the demand is on the land side. If we add the cargo ships and the port operations to that, that also adds more pressure on the system. And if we took the 4,000 yachts that are sitting at English Harbor, Jolly Harbor, Falmouth Harbor, and all of the other places, now your demand for power on the marine side becomes exceptionally large. So the opportunity to transition, in my mind, has to include, or should first adapt the direction that the maritime location is going, because our maritime space is about 1,000 times larger than our land space. So as goes maritime, so should go the land side.
So the sargassum piece. Have you thought about that? About policing sargassum, collection of sargassum, the monitoring of sargassum, all of it, because it's quite a sensitive subject, right?
If the resource becomes necessary for our use, then if it's in our waters and we have a very large space, there will become competition for it.
How big is that
if
space?
It's needed. Our EEZ is well over, I want to give you the right amount, but it's thousands of
The economic zone.
acres. Our EEZ, yes, that's the ocean space. That's thousands of acres.
And that's between Antigua, Barbuda, Redonda, and the...
Yes, St. Kitts, Montserrat, drawing that line all the way around.
Wow.
We're still negotiating that as well, but we have the largest ocean space in the Eastern Caribbean, and it dwarfs our land size. So if you if you really started thinking about which side should lead the transition, because the maritime side is not only larger, it has the resource that can create some biofuels. It has a lot of sun capacity and solar capacity as well, but also the business and commercial use of that space creates a larger demand than the island itself. So we should look at that and see how we can address that, and then we can solve the land problem.
You are a G. Darwin and I have agreed to build a
Floating dock in Dredge Bay that would create access to the lagoon, all of Dredge Bay, and going down as far as Fort James, all the way around.
and that's what we're going to do.